the shadows to the light. We'll judge every fearsome sight. Gore and chills all in one night. Tune in now, it's pure delight. Rapid reviews, here we go. Quick and snappy, watch us flow. Scary movies, yes or no. Rapid reviews, steal the show.
Hello and welcome back to Rapid Reviews. My name is Scott and I'm going to be your host today as I talk all about The Crow, the surprise movie of the year, as I put on my thumbnail. And the reason I put that is because so many people are negative against this and they're not going to go and watch it. And I think you should. Now, for me, this was not a surprise. I tipped this as movie of the year way back before we got any shots of Bill Skarsgard, before we got any real information about the movie, apart from the fact they're remaking it and Bill Skarsgard and FK Twigs were taking on the roles of Eric Draven and Shelley Webster. Now, I was confident this was going to be a good movie, and I also knew that when I said that out loud, I was going to get a lot of hate, and I did. A huge amount of hate across all social media whenever I mentioned anything positive about this movie. And the reason for that is the original, the 1994 Crow, starring Brandon Lee, which is a gothic masterpiece. It is a fabulous movie that I grew up on. I idolized that movie. It influenced so much of my musical taste, so much of my appearance at the time. Hey, I had long hair and a long leather jacket. I was fully in. And when they announced the remake, I was very excited because we've not had a decent Crow movie since then. We had City of Angels, which was okay, and then some really subpar sequels that were just trash, absolute trash. They were terrible, and there's no way of getting around that. There's no way of sugarcoating that. They were bad. And I understand why people are negative. Brandon Lee gave an iconic performance, and it was his last. It was tragically a movie that he lost his life on. But we need to look at this in a different way. So he lost his life on that set because it was a dangerous set. It was badly organized with live weapons and live ammunition available on set. And when you've got the director of that movie coming out and slamming this remake after it was his set and his bad management of safety on that set and the production company's bad management that cost Brandon Lee his life, I think that's terrible. This guy has got no position to shout about any movie ever. It's down to him and his production team why we no longer have Brandon Lee, why we are getting a remake instead of a legacy sequel starring Brandon Lee. And that might be a hot take, and some of you might not like that, but that's my opinion on it. I don't think anyone is in a position to criticize there being a remake of an iconic movie, regardless of whether it was someone's last performance or not. Now, this movie has had so much negativity, and I've spent most of today after seeing the movie looking at reviews online, and there's a good chunk. There's hundreds, thousands of reviews, and they tend to sit in two categories. You've got the 10-star reviews and the 1-star reviews if you're looking at somewhere like IMDb. And when you look at the 10-star or the 7, 8, 9, all of the higher star ratings, they're very much focused on what the movie is, the characters, the aesthetic. And when you get down to the lower scores, the 3s, the 2s, and the 1s, every single one of them references the original. And while this is a remake and it is telling a very similar story, there are differences in this story. And I think comparing one against the other is very difficult to do because although they tell the same story, they are very different in tone. They are very, very different movies. And I think people should be mindful of that. When you leave a 1-star review for a movie and within your review, you say that it's shot brilliantly, it's really well acted, it looks great, it's really gothic, and then end it with, but it's not Brandon Lee in 1994, you're giving conflicting views. You're saying, actually, this movie is really good, but because of the original, I'm going to score it a 1-star because it's not my Crow, which is a hashtag that's been trending the last couple of days. Now, this movie, let's talk about the actual movie, the reason you're all here. This is a remake of the 1994 movie The Crow. It tells the story of Eric Draven and Shelley Webster, who suffer a tragedy where Shelley is killed, and so is Eric, and he rises from the grave to avenge that death. The story is nothing new. We know the story. The way this is shot, the way this is told, the way the characters are delivered are poles apart from what we got in 1994. This is a very fresh take on this movie. Bill Skarsgard gives an excellent performance where he gives real deep insight to the character. This is not just he's out for revenge. He's a tragically tormented character, and he's conflicted in what he's doing, which I found really emotionally draining. And it was something very impressive to watch, that Bill could bring all of these elements of love and hate and fear into this story. FKA Twig's done really, really well. She wasn't a standout for me. I found at times she was a little bit dull and almost needed like G'ing up. But again, she gave a great performance. Danny Hudson in this is, well, he's Danny Hudson. He plays the same monotone, remorseless bastard that he plays in Yellowstone and every other time he plays a villain, and he does it really, really well. The thing that makes this stand out for me is the visuals, and I've seen lots of people slag off the CGI. Yes, the CGI in a movie, the CGI in every movie. Pick a movie that's been made in the last 10 years, every single scene will have an element of CGI to it. And people criticize this, but this is the way movies are made. And I think the CGI in this is actually pretty damn good. The fight sequences have been compared to John Wick. To an extent, yeah, but no, they're very, very different. These are almost slowed down, very methodical, they very much fit the Eric Draven character that Bill is bringing across. He's very calm and collect in what he's doing. There's no sort of rushing, and he's not doing flips. It's like, it's a very different take to what you may get in a John Wick. And I think the action sequences in this are brilliant. They're very tense. They really keep you on the edge of your seat. But what made this movie good for me, like really, really great, is the opening. The first, I'd say almost half of this movie is very slow. It's a very much a building a story, building the love story between Eric and Shelley. And it's believable. And I buy into their chemistry. I buy into their aesthetic. I buy into that relationship. And when Shelley dies and Eric dies, I am fully on board with him getting back up and kicking ass. And he does. There are some negatives of this movie. The ending for me wasn't great. Like I say, this is spoiler free, so I'm not going to tell you what happens, but I wish they'd taken it a different way and closed it off. They kind of had I don't know. I think there's lots of studio notes that have been added to the last section of this movie, and I kind of wish they hadn't done that. For me, this is not as good as The Crow, and I never expected it to be. I never expected there to be a movie as good as The Crow. When you're remaking it, you can't replicate what happened on that set. Like after Brandon Lee died, the emotions of all the characters would have been all the actors would have been heightened. Like everything changed after that event, and you don't have that in this. But this is still a great movie. And one thing that is great about this movie is they kept this movie gun free. So all of the guns that are on set are replicas. There are no real guns on this set. And they made this a super safe set. And that is super important. And why we're using real guns in movies, I do not know. But they made this super safe because of what happened with Brandon Lee. This movie's great. I really, really enjoyed this movie. If I'm going to give it a score, I'm going to score this a 4 out of 5. I recommend anyone who is anti this because they don't think it is going to be as good as the original, go and watch it, because it's not as good as the original. There's no spoiler there, but it's a good movie. Don't go into this and compare every scene to the original. But that's a bad way to look at any movie. Take this for what it is. It's a modern adaptation of The Crow. And this will, without a shadow of a doubt, revitalize this franchise for a huge amount of fans. There are people who've never seen the original Crow, who don't know who Eric Draven is, who will have gone into this, and Brandon Lee will be their Eric Draven. FKA Twigs will be their Shelley Webster. And that is what it's all about. It's about keeping these characters alive and keeping people loving these movies. And if all of these people who've gone and seen this love it, and then go and watch the Brandon Lee, which has just come out on 4K, like, that's great. That's great for the franchise. It's great for The Crow. And I don't see what people's issue is. I really don't. And one thing I'm going to say, there are so many people who are going to follow the herd and be sheep. And they're not going to speak out whether if they love this movie. They're not going to say, this is great, I absolutely love it. And the reason for that is the hatred that comes on the back of it. And as a horror community, we need to do better. We're all entitled to different opinions. You might think Blade Trinity is the best Blade movie. I might think the first Blade is the best Blade movie. And that doesn't matter. Like, if you love Blade Trinity, great, glad you enjoyed it. If I love Blade 1, great, glad I enjoyed it. Why do we need to fight about that? Why does there need to be an argument? Like, The Crow is iconic. And if people like the new Crow, great. Hey, if there's people out there who think Salvation is the best Crow movie, I'm fine with that. If that movie touches them in a way that it doesn't get me, I'm not going to hate on them for it. So why are all of you doing that? Like, let me know your thoughts. Like, when you've gone and seen the movie, don't just jump in the comments and go, oh, there's only one Crow, because there's not now. There's two. Whether you like it or not, there are two people who have played Eric Draven. In fact, there's three, because there was a series, which no one kicked off about the series, strangely enough. Just saying. Now, let me know in the comments what you think of the movie. Let me know in the comments what your favorite Crow movie is. Hey, just get in the comments and tell me your thoughts, because I'm pretty sure you're all going to have an opinion on this. And if you love this movie, don't be ashamed to say it in the comments. Get in there and say it. And if someone starts attacking you, I will jump in and I will delete the shit out of their comments and block them, because I won't have hatred in my comments. You want to have healthy debate about what's good and what's bad about the movies? Feel free. Start hating on someone and going, you're an idiot because you like this movie. You're gone. I don't care if you subscribe. I don't care how you feel. Like, if you're nasty to someone in my comments, you're out of here. That's kind of all I'm doing on this one. It is spoiler free. There is going to be a full spoiler review coming. And as soon as that's on its way, I'll let you all know. Go and enjoy the movie. Go and watch it. Don't just avoid it because people say you should. Go and watch it. Have fun with it. It's awesome. That's kind of where I am. Long live the Crow. Catch you all next time.
From the shadows to the light, we'll judge every fearsome sight. Gore and chills all in one night. Tune in now, it's pure delight. Rapid reviews, here we go. Quick and snappy, watch us flow. Scary movies, yes or no. Rapid reviews, steal the show.